So today we're going to talk about time. So let's start with today is the vlog for March 11th, 2018. I think I said that yesterday's was March 10th. But for whatever reason I can't even think of. Sitting down today, I thought today was also the 10th. Or rather, I thought that yesterday was the 9th. Today was the 10th. Daylight savings time is a weird thing because we do it in America, but there are only, I think, maybe a third of the nations in the world that do it. Japan doesn't do it. I think maybe England does. Germany doesn't do it, although there's some speculation that that's where the practice started. I remember hearing one story that it was invented by a gentleman who wanted more time in the evening to collect insects that only came out at the specific hours of dusk. And he wanted more time in the summer to go after those insects. The common conception is that it benefits farmers in the American Midwest and South. However, in the American South, it remains close to 12-hour days and 12-hour nights all year long. That's not true. I think my dad said that, but it's actually not that true. But there's less variation in the number of hours in a day the farther south you get. That's true. Although you'd have to be in Hawaii to really see something along the lines of 12-hour days and 12-hour nights most of the year. By the way, it's been 2 years since my last trip to Hawaii, and I miss it already. Of course, I was missing it the day after I came back. The weather today was beautiful, which was good because my phone rang. My alarm went off at what would be 6 a.m., if not for the changeover in time, which is weird. The app I use plays music of my choosing, and the music I choose starts soft and builds in volume or strength as it goes, which is nice because it means eventually it'll get loud enough to wake me up, but it won't start off so loud that I wake up in a jolt, because I really don't need my heart racing as soon as I wake up in the morning. But time. I'm talking about time. The weather today was really nice. I intended to go out and go for a walk like I did yesterday, but in the middle of the day, I felt a bit under the weather. Well, obviously I've been sick for a while. And so I just stayed in. I wish I'd gone out because days like this are rare where it's warm, but it's not so warm that I'm uncomfortable. I'm a big guy, 260 plus pounds. It really needs to just be in the 60s for me to want to walk around in a t-shirt. And then this evening, when I was getting ready to have dinner, it struck me how nice out it was. And then coming in here, this is the weirdest one of all. There's a clock in here. This is the guest room. There's a clock in here, and right now it says that it's 9:17, which isn't right because I can see the clock on my computer says that it's 9:19. It's synced to a clock on the internet, so it's more accurate than most clocks. In fact, my phone, being my alarm clock, is also accurate and automatically updates itself. The receptacle in which I put my phone does not. I had to manually set that myself. I thought I was the only person that came in here regularly, but it's possible either somebody came in and adjusted the clock in here, or this clock is one of the newfangled types that's actually smart enough to do that itself. But I think about time a lot. I think about time so much that I have a series of novels that lead out of this first novel that I've written brief summaries for and outlines for at least the second, and also possibly the fourth, which I know sounds weird, but originally it was going to be the third, and then I realized I needed a book in between. It was complicated. Anyway, it would be the fourth book if I actually wrote it. But I had plans for 6 or 7 of these. And then I have an entire second series of novels in my head for after that first series of 6 or 7. And those books are all about time. Because time is a really weird thing for human beings. We perceive it in a very specific way. Things happen, and then they have happened. Things that will happen eventually happen, and so on and so forth. And we have film and books and radio programs and comics built around the idea of time travel, going from a period in time to another period in time without experiencing the intervening times. And Back to the Future is my favorite film of all time, so that should say something right there. I was also a big fan of a video game called Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo back in 1994. So time is something I think about a lot, and that sort of keys back into this whole midlife crisis thing. I very rarely feel as though I'm using my time the best that I could. And the more I live, the more I realize how much less life I have to live. I'm not in particularly bad health. I'm not in particularly good health. And I think I said yesterday I could live healthier. So it's sort of troubling when, because I've lost an hour due to spring forward, I look over at my clock and realize that it's nearly 4 in the afternoon when I meant to go for a walk around 2. And it's all because I did a stupid quest in Monster Hunter. And that's really what's been eating at me. I've been in a bad mood all day because I got into this mindset that I wanted to make a specific weapon that required you to do the arena. The arena in Monster Hunter is stupid because the entire game is about picking your fights very carefully, finding a monster that's very easy, and making equipment from it so that you can fight a monster that's a little bit more difficult, gather materials for that. And it's a cycle, and it goes and it goes and goes until you fight the ultimate monster in the game, and it even goes on further after that because they increase the strength of all the monsters. And then you can get things that are a lot more random than the normal parts that you normally get. But the arena isn't like that. The arena, you pick a specific weapon, you fight a specific monster with that specific weapon, and a specific set of items, and a specific set of armor. You don't get to choose anything other than that weapon and everything that comes with it. And they come in sets. And each one of the missions, each monster that you fight, gives you a choice of 5. And sometimes, if you haven't dabbled in a lot of weapons, you might not have the one that you're normally used to, especially fighting that particular monster. And that was what happened to me. I decided that I needed to get this, to make this special katana. And to do that, I had to do a whole bunch of very difficult missions with suboptimal gear. And it drove me nuts. I must have spent an hour this afternoon banging my head against this wall. And that's not why I'm really angry. I complained about the nature of these missions, the nature of content in a game that is nothing like any of the other content in a game, but offers rewards similar to what you would get elsewhere in the game. There was an old World of Warcraft instance where you rode around on dragons at the end that always drove me nuts for that reason. No matter how good I was at the rest of the game, it didn't matter this particular thing. And there's very few places to practice the sorts of dragon riding necessary to finish the encounter. And it was universally despised for this reason and for a couple other reasons by the community, so much so that the developers eventually gave special rewards for people that actually bothered completing it. But all that is nothing because today I wasted a perfectly good day indoors. And I have a finite number of good days that I can go out. And it's not like I just found out I have cancer, I'm sick, I'm going to die or something. That's not true. I don't know when I'm going to die. Honest to goodness, I don't know any more than anybody else does generally. But it sticks. It sticks in my head that I could have done something constructive with my day. And I did it. And I think about it a lot because I think about time a lot. But if I do this, about to hit 11 minutes, if I do this, this is better. This is something constructive. It's something I'm going to leave behind, even in its own minor way. It's a record. It's important, and I'm glad that I did it. I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.